Okay, we are recording.
All right, dude. Carrie part 2. What was your favorite part?
Favorite part was when she killed everyone in the town. That was amazing. No, really, I was thinking about this. We definitely need to put spoilers in the title of these videos because we're going through everything. Well, not everything, but like we're revealing the stuff. But yeah, that was actually like legitimately was my favorite thing about the book. Probably was the surprise because I always thought she only killed the kids at the school, or hurt them or whatever. I never really knew. But like. He leaves the school and starts blowing up the town. It's freaking awesome. I love it.
Dude. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay, so where did we leave? Oh, yeah. So remember, I was like confused. At the end of part 1, I was thinking like, how much more is there going to be? Because we're only halfway through the book.
We didn't even know, dude.
Yeah,
we didn't even have an idea.
Like, we're halfway through the book. And it was already prom, and I'm like, how long is it gonna take to explain what goes down at prom? Like, there's got to be more or something. I don't know. And it turns out, there's more.
Just a little bit more.
And I think part of the reason prom does take a long time to explain, but I thought it was interesting. I haven't really seen other authors do this very much. It was not told chronologically. It was like
and I love that, dude.
Back and forth between perspectives. Like a lot of books, they'll change viewpoints, right? But this one was change viewpoints and time. It would be like the next viewpoint was like 15 minutes before the last one.
Yeah, dude. And it gave me anxiety. I was thinking about it. I was like, this is kind of like walking up a sand hill, you're like trying to get the top really fast, but every step you take, you like slide a little bit further back. And so the whole time it was dancing around the point, dude. Like it got so close, and then be like, oh, all right.
Actually, you're right. You're right. That's a great way to put it. You very well articulated what I was thinking. Yes, because like you're getting to the moment. You're like, oh, and then what happened? And then it switches perspective, and it's like, oh, 20 minutes earlier. Okay. Well, what happened from this person's perspective? And then it like builds up, and then we're switching to a different. So it was cool. So they got the blood. They set it up.
Okay, so
let's go through sort of the events here.
Quick synopsis. Okay, so we stopped off. She got asked to prom last section. So this one starts off. She made her dress. She like puts it on. Her mom comes in. She's like super angry with her. Then she's like waiting for Tommy. She's a little bit nervous. So Tommy sues.
He's a couple minutes late, and she thinks he's like he ditched her, and she's suspicious that it was all just a prank, right?
Yeah. So she's just getting a little bit nervous, but then everything's fine. Tommy shows up, picks her up.
She looks amazing in her dress.
So good, so good.
That she made, which is impressive, I think.
It what?
And the dress that she made, which is always very impressive.
Yeah. No, and then it flashes back to give kind of a little bit of backstory on like growing up and stuff. I thought that was interesting.
On what? You kind of glitched.
Oh, on Billy?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Kind of gives some of his backstory. And then it goes to him. He's going the night before, or 2 nights before, to set up this prank at the school where they're going to be.
I thought that was really interesting from his perspective. It kind of showed... In some ways, it made me change my mind that, like, Billy's really the bad guy here. Like, Chris, she was angry, but she was really more just, like, petty. Like, she's a kid. She's like a high school brat, And she wants to get revenge. But Billy is, like...
Billy is almost on the verge of evil.
Yeah, and he, like, flat out says, he doesn't care who he hurts. He just wants to hurt someone.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't care who was going to be crowned. So he sets up the buckets so they're going to fall on the king and the queen of the prom, right?
Right.
I don't care who gets voted king and queen. I just want to, like, drench somebody in blood. And then he even tells Chris, he's like, as soon as this goes down, we're leaving because this is not like bullying. This is assault. Like,
Yeah,
he knows what he's doing, and he's like, he's totally in.
exactly.
And later on, which we'll get to it, he slaps Chris pretty bad. He kind of beats her up a little bit, and like, he's a bad dude.
Yeah,
Real bad guy.
bad dude. So for people that aren't reading it, those that are watching, so there's a couple names. So Billy is Chris's boyfriend. Chris is the bad girl that was like throwing things at Carrie. Got
Kind of the
ejected
leader
from
of the
prom.
police.
Yeah. Tommy is Sue's boyfriend. That Sue got Tommy to go with Carrie. So yeah.
Sue and Chris kind of used to be friends, and Sue feels bad for Carrie. She's trying to be a better person, so she gets Tommy to take Carrie to the dance.
Right.
And Sue stays home during the dance, which is probably why she survived.
Yes. Okay. Next part. So they get to the prom. They're having a really good time.
Carrie's nervous, but she starts to relax, and she's like actually finds herself having fun. That was honestly nice to see, to read, and like it was. I was surprised at how well it was written, because it felt like it kind of brought me back, and it was like this is so nice to see somebody like, you know, joining a group and feeling, you know, comfortable, or, you know, kind of picturing yourself in that situation. We've all been in that situation where you go somewhere and you're like the weird one or the new one or whatever.
Right.
You're not sure, and you start to fit in. She even starts like joking with the other kid, and like,
yeah, I like that.
The other girl starts asking her about her dress, and she's all proud that she made her own dress, and it was like, oh, nice, like this is great, you know.
Right.
It was
I
nice.
liked how, it like kind of normalized her, where like the whole book is kind of showing, oh, she's this weird kid, but I feel like everybody has that part, you know, like everybody has different parts of them, and it just showed a different part at prom, which was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that prom.
There's music playing. Some of the kids are sort of. There's one girl, Norma Watson, who's kind of like, she's being a little catty.
Right.
Kind of like pretending to be nice, but kind of not, like. So I mean, it's not all perfect, but she's having a nice time. She doesn't know how to dance. She's kind of nervous to tell Tommy that she doesn't know how to dance.
But Tommy is like he's super nice and
isn't he just like the chillest guy?
Yeah. Super nice and accommodating. So it doesn't matter that she doesn't know how to dance. He still asks her. So yeah, they're having a good time. Then prom ballots for the king and queen go out. Everybody gets them. When Carrie gets hers, she realizes that hers and Tommy's name are on there, and she's a little bit surprised. And Tommy's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Like they usually have like people on there with their dates, so that's why."
Yeah, that was interesting. I wonder, because our school never did it like that. I wonder.
Yeah, we did it like in class, right?
Yeah, I wonder how other schools, if this was more of like a generational thing, like maybe that's how they used to do it all over the place back in the day, or if maybe that's how they do it on the East Coast or something. We're from Idaho, and I know our king and queen were decided like a week before, weren't they?
Right. Yeah.
Or at least a few days. And they would reveal, like, for example, homecoming. They would reveal the homecoming queen at the homecoming football game.
Yeah. That's right.
Or was that at the dance?
I think they revealed him. Yeah, at the football game.
You were the homecoming king, weren't you, senior year?
Yeah. Stop it.
Popular. Mr. Popularity.
But yeah, I think it was the football game.
Okay, they revealed both of them then.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter who your date was. It was just like they voted for the queen, they voted for the king.
Right.
And then at the dance, I remember like the king and queen would have a dance and get pictures and taken. And it was always kind of funny because typically you go sort of matching your date, but like the king and the queen don't match at all because they're not there together. But
it's awkward too, because like sometimes you don't even know the other person, so you're like,
yeah. Who was the queen? Do you remember who was the queen with you?
Tamika.
That's what I thought. I thought it was Tamika Dillard. Yeah, I was thinking it was, but I couldn't remember for sure. But in Carrie, they have the ballots, they pass them out at the dance, and they vote on couples. So like so Tommy and Sue were on the ballot, but since Sue didn't go, Carrie got like paired up with Tommy, right? So
Right.
he's kind of riding on his coattails of popularity because he's kind of like a cool kid. He's a popular kid. People like him and stuff. So then they vote right then and there during the dance. And the first time they vote, it's a tie, right? It's like an exact tie between Tommy and Carrie and another couple. I can't remember who they were. And then they do like a revote. And actually, I can't remember if it was in part 1. I think it was part 1, but it might have been part 2, where Chris, the bully, she kind of says that she's been telling her friends to vote for Carrie.
Yeah.
And she's kind of got this plan, trying to set it in motion that she wants Carrie to win, and she's been encouraging that. So Carrie ends up getting a bunch of votes, and then they re-vote because it was a tie, and then she wins, right? Just by one.
Because remember she said, Tommy, don't vote for us, but he's like, modesty is the devil, is to the devil with modesty or something.
Yeah, he was like, screw modesty, we'll vote for ourselves. Yeah,
exactly. And so
he's
they win by
trying
1.
to be humble and everything.
Yeah. So they get voted king and queen. They go up on the stage, and they're standing there. The school song starts, and then all hell breaks loose.
Well, pause.
Okay, yeah.
And this is what the book does.
I'm so excited, dude.
It
pauses.
I'm so excited.
This
is what the book does. It drives you crazy when you're reading it, kind of, because it pauses and it flips to another perspective. So like Billy and Chris, they went to they were like parked outside, right?
Oh yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
And then they snuck in, and they were like behind the stage or whatever. And Billy had set up like a pulley system where if you pull on this rope, it's gonna knock the 2 buckets down or whatever. And they were like waiting. They're like, the king and the queen are gonna be announced at 10 o'clock. It's gonna take them a minute to get up onto the thrones, and then the band is gonna play the school song, and then that's when we pull it. And they're like waiting, and they don't know what's going on. And Chris is like freaking out. She's like, maybe we should just get out of here.
Right.
Because there was a tie and they had to recount and all this stuff. So it was all, she was panicking, and Billy's like, shut up. And I think he slaps her, doesn't he? Like,
something.
There or later, because
he's not good. Just not good, dude.
Yeah.
So it's because they couldn't see anything, right? They were just waiting for the school song to pull the cord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So then they hear the school song and they pull the cord. So at first, when I was reading it, I was like, is that like, are we not going to get to see it like from the perspective of people? Like, because you first hear it from Chris's perspective. Like they just pulled the bucket. They hear like a thunk and some laughing, and then like they take off. And I was like, oh, like that was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But then it switches perspective again. Well, it switches to Sue. Sue's at home.
Right.
Like, but it's funny because it switches to Sue, but in the future. Sue's at home, and the town like siren starts going off that there's an emergency, and like she's like, what the heck is going on? And the school is on fire or something like that, and she's like all confused. And then it switches back to Carrie as she's being crowned. So you're like, what's going on?
Well, that was scary too, because like it just kind of gives you a glimpse to what's gonna happen, you know. And it's not just like this is a small prank of blood, because the town siren wouldn't go off. It was just that, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Like, oh dang.
So then I don't want to jump. You're much better at having the sequence of events. But I didn't really take notes on that. So then.
Oh no. So
the bucket falls on her.
Okay, so it falls on her.
Next? Her perspective.
She realizes that it's like blood. Like it takes a second for her to realize. Then the second bucket that falls on Billy hits him in the head and like knocks him out.
Yeah.
Or kills him. I think it kills him instantly. Yeah.
Falls down pretty quick. Yeah, he dies well. It was a little bit unclear. It did say that he died fairly painlessly.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was either knocked unconscious and then died, or he died right away. But the bucket hit him in the head and he went down.
Yeah.
And Carrie is like bathed in the blood. So
Yeah,
I think
so
first it tells it from a perspective of Norma Watson, the other girl.
hmm
And she talks about like she's absolutely 100% red, and like when
That's
she
right.
opens her eyes, it's like all you can see is like the two white eyes in this dark red, and it was like it looked like a cartoon, and everybody kind of started laughing, and then because of all the blood or whatever, like she had kind of like crouched down, and it said that she looked like a frog, and she like tried to get off the
Oh, yeah.
stage and stumbled. She kind of like hopped off the stage, and everyone was laughing because she looked like a frog jumping
Right.
through mud or whatever.
They were all like kind of nervously laughing though. Like it wasn't a just, oh, this is super funny. It was like a really startled, scared instead of screaming, laughing. Sort
It
of.
was just so weird, yeah.
Yeah.
And I expected right then. Here's what I had in my mind, because
Okay. Yeah.
I've just seen like trailers of the movies,
Uh-huh.
so I was like, she's just gonna make everyone's head explode or something. Like that's what I expected. I literally I expected her to like blow up some kids' heads, and then like pick up a table and smash these people and
Uh-huh.
like Hulk style destruction,
Oh yeah.
But she jumps off the stage. She starts running. This was surprising because, like you said, everyone's kind of nervously laughing. But then
Yeah.
some jerk sticks out his foot and trips her.
I know.
I'm like,
Like,
oh my gosh, how mean can you be?
I know.
That guy should die. That guy
Yeah.
should die. But she gets up and she leaves the gym. She like runs out of the school. And I'm like, where's the death and destruction? Like, what's
Right.
going on?
Yeah.
And then everyone's
because
just kind of shocked, right?
Right.
Oh, but we should note, as she's running across the gym, the gym teacher, Ms. Desjardins, who had tried to I got my hands all over the place over here.
No, it's
Who
good.
had tried to mentor her and help her out earlier, who had kind of come to her rescue during the whole period thing in the school showers.
Mm-hmm.
She comes rushing toward her like, oh my gosh, let me help clean you up or whatever. Like she's concerned about her. And Carrie is like, she's just part of the prank. Like, she's pretending she's pretending to care. And without even thinking about it, she uses her telekinesis kung fu and she shoots Miss Jardine off to the side, diverts her, and she hits the wall and gets a bloody nose. And so Carrie leaves. And then later it says that first she just tries to escape. And then she starts thinking about what she did to Miss Desjardins, and she's like, I could do that to everybody. And then she goes back. So that's how it kind of happens.
And that's when it gets real. And it takes so long to get to that part, dude. It takes so long.
A little bit too long, but it was good. It was still good.
Well, just so much that it builds up this suspense, in a really good way. But you just you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious right now. When is it gonna happen? And then it just keeps building up and keeps building up.
Yeah.
Like dubstep, you're waiting for the drop, dude.
So then, Sue comes out. I don't know what happens next, but
so she comes back.
Right?
A couple things are happening simultaneously. Sue's in her story at home, but what's happening at the high school? Carrie comes back in. She's got this evil smile on her face and just starts going crazy with her telekinesis. So she breaks the water lines or the
sprinkler system.
The sprinkler system.
Well, that was her plan, right? She was like, they ruined my dress. I'm going to go turn on the sprinkler system and ruin all of their dresses and their hair. Right. And that was as far ahead as she had planned. She's still, It's funny to see how she broke, but in, how do you say it? In a couple different steps.
Segments.
Yeah. It wasn't boom, murderous rage. It was she was super embarrassed. She tried to get out. And then she was like, I want to get some revenge. And then she was like, I'm just going to ruin their dresses and hair. And then after she starts getting the water pouring all over everybody, they're
still laughing. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still laughing. And she's like, well, they're not hurting. This isn't enough.
And she uses her mind to keep all the doors closed so nobody can get out. And they're all pressing up against the glass, what did she say? Like animals in a cage or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. Animals at the zoo.
In a zoo. And then but then the water starts affecting the PA system, the amps that the band was playing. And the guy jumps on stage to try to turn off the equipment, and he gets electrocuted. And then Carrie sees that, and she's like, all right.
Yeah.
And then he gives her an idea. So then she like breaks all the electrical equipment, like detaches all the cables, and puts them in the water. There's like a puddle of water all over the place now. People start getting electrocuted all over the place. A fire starts, getting crazy in there.
Yeah, she's throwing things. Yeah, people are like, she was it describes it in like they were doing like this weird puppet dance. So it's kind of an eerie image that you have in your head. Like, imagine someone getting electrocuted and they're just kind of doing this weird, marionette style thing. Ugh.
Yeah. And then, so that's where I thought it was kind of going to end. Like,
that's what I thought. Just the
other thing, big spoiler. Somewhere in the early parts of part 2, I can't remember where exactly, it started to dawn on me that like Carrie might not survive either. I kind of had the idea.
There was actually some hints in that in the part 1 too.
Were there hints? Is that what tipped me off? I can't remember what tipped me off, but I just kind of got the vibe. Do you remember what it said that hinted at it?
It was in one of the articles just saying like it was talking about Carrie in past tense.
Yeah. I noticed that I started to notice it. I was like, all of these things talk about her in the past tense. None of them talk about like where she is now.
Right.
And so I started thinking like, is she gonna die? Like, but it wasn't really clear. And I was like, maybe not, you know? And then, so I started thinking about that. So that was one surprise that I hadn't really expected before reading the book. And the other one was that she then leaves the school and starts attacking the town. Yeah. Which is like, I honestly, I sound like a psychopath, but I loved it.
Well, yeah. Well, like all the stuff that everybody had done to her, obviously, like it didn't compare because she was murdering people and they'd thrown tampons at her. So, like, not really equal. You know?
So she comes outside and because it was nice. You see what she does. You see it from the perspective of like this town drunk guy who like had been arrested and spent the night in the police station, and then like he woke up and all the cops were gone and he just like left. And he comes outside and he sees Carrie like wreaking havoc, and it's kind of weird what she's doing. But then later on, you see it from her perspective and it makes more sense. So she comes outside and she hears the sirens of the fire trucks coming to the school, and she's like, they're gonna ruin my revenge. So then she uses her mind powers. She opens up all the fire hydrants that she can reach, like along this whole street, like several blocks around the high school. So all the water pressure is like down to 0 basically. And so the fire trucks show up, but they can't really do anything to stop the blaze. And there's like ambulances and stuff. And then, to add on to it, she goes to a gas station. She unhooks all the gas nozzles and has them spraying full blast. So there's like a huge puddle of gas. And then some dude, I don't think he really said, he's just walking by and he's got a lit cigarette. And then the place goes up, and like, so people are dying at the gas station. The place explodes.
Well, small interjection. So when they were talking from Susan's perspective, like she sees that guy with the cigarette and she hears the policeman say, like some weird phrase. She couldn't understand it fully.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And then like when you hear it from his perspective, the policeman's like, hey, put that cigarette out. Like, don't throw it. That's gas.
That's
and
gas.
Then you realize, oh, shoot.
Well, that wasn't the policeman. It was the drunk guy.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, so that's right. It was weird when you first heard it from her perspective, because you were like, what in the world is he saying?
Like something.
But then he was like, watch out, don't put that cigarette, it's gas. And then the place blows up, and every bit of destruction that she is like causing kind of like excites her a little bit and like causes her to want to do more, right?
Yeah.
So then she starts pulling down the electric cables in the streets, and all the townspeople are coming outside to see what's going on. And like there's one scene that it describes, it's kind of far towards the end, where like this lady comes outside. Well, she's the mom of she's the mom
Oh, that's right.
of Rhonda Simard, is like one of the first people that gets killed in the school. She's like a girl at the dance.
Yeah.
And then there's like a little section of her mom's perspective. And the mom talks about how like she came outside with another neighbor who was also a mom of a kid at the school. And they start walking towards the school because they're scared and they're worried and all this stuff. And then, you know, none of their phone calls are going through. The whole system is like all, how do you say, like it's all jammed up.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the power lines start falling down and like all the neighbors start getting electrocuted.
Yeah.
And they panic and start running and they like step on a wire and they go up in smoke basically. They start, it's a little bit gruesome. It kind of talks about like, it was like, talks about how like one guy is basically just a puddle. And like,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Other ones were just like charred remains that were all just smoky, gristly.
You could smell like it was like sweet pork.
Yeah, it smelled like pork. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which coincidentally, I've heard that human meat does taste quite a bit like pork.
You've just heard it? Or you know
I've
that?
heard.
Okay, good. All right.
There's a euphemism for human meat. They call it long pig, I think. Long pig, I want to say, is a euphemism for human meat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it tastes apparently very much like pork.
That's crazy, dude.
So
Gross.
there's your cannibalistic trivia of the day.
There you go.
So yeah, so like that scene was really cool, I thought, because it just showed like a bunch of people dying. And then so after she pretty much just kills everybody at the school, it was like 60 kids or something like that at the school that died.
Yeah.
I can't remember the number, but it was like pretty high number, several dozen.
Yeah.
And then she wants to go home and get revenge on her mom.
Yeah.
And it had mentioned earlier in part 1 that her mom died, but it never really said how. So I was like waiting for this part 2.
Right.
But then it switches to her mom's perspective, and it talks about how her mom, you get a little bit more clarity about like what her deal is. Like she's a psycho.
Yeah. Crazy woman.
So she's part of this like really wild religious movement that like doesn't believe in sexual intercourse at all. Like she's married to a guy,
Even,
but like,
even when you're married,
still refuses to like do it with him.
Because
but then, well, she reveals to Carrie when they finally have like this final confrontation kind of, and she reveals to her that like they did have intercourse before they were married, and that was also hinted at earlier. It talked about like the math, how she was pregnant only a couple months after their wedding. She was like already 6 months pregnant, like 2 months after the wedding or something like that.
I forgot about that.
And but then she lost the baby, and the mom says that like she fell down and lost the baby. So she was like, you know, I was forgiven, or the sin was washed away. So like the way she talks about her own children is like sickening, honestly.
Yeah.
And then she talks about how one day her husband was looking at her that way, and like she was like, Senor White, you ain't getting none of this. Right. And then she like kicked him out of the house and told him to go pray. And then he came
gets
back.
drunk, comes back.
It was this book. There was a couple problematic things I thought about this book. This was one of them. He comes back and she's like, "Have you repented or whatever?" And he's drunk and he just like basically rapes her.
Yeah.
But then she says that she liked it. Like,
oh yeah.
So
yeah.
like,
that was like messed up.
That was a little icky.
What?
She's like, he took me and I liked it.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, and that's all in caps, and she's like whispering all this to Carrie, and then she just like raises her voice. She's like, I liked it. Carrie's like, no, stop telling me all this.
Yeah, and Carrie's like, don't tell me this.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to hear about my parents doing
it. I love how in the middle of this murderous rage, this bloodshed and gore, she's like, ew, like, stop telling me this.
Right. I know.
But anyway, where was I going with this? So then,
So Carrie, Carrie
so
came up.
the
Yeah.
mom sees Carrie as the product of sin. And
Right.
so when she was born, the dad died before Carrie was born. And when Carrie was born, she tried to kill her. That's why
Oh yeah.
at the beginning of the book, it talked about how there was screaming coming from the house and the neighbors called the cops. The cops showed up, there was blood everywhere, and the lady had a knife. So at first he thought it was like an attempted murder or something.
Right.
Thought there was a baby and she had cut the umbilical cord herself. So it's like, wow, that's crazy. And the whole book, you're just thinking like, that's crazy. But then it's revealed that like she had the knife ready because she was planning on killing the baby, but then she like chickened out.
Yeah.
And when Carrie was 3 and she made all the rocks fall through the roof, she tried to kill her again, but she like chickened out again. But she's like, this time I'm not gonna chicken out. She's got the knife there, like waiting for Carrie. She like pulls it out, and like
And it was the same knife too.
kind of epic confrontation.
Wasn't it the same knife?
I think
All
so.
three.
Yeah.
All 3 times.
I'm pretty. Yeah.
Or the 2 times so far.
Yeah. And so that was wild. And so she like, was there anything else you want to say about that?
Oh, I was just gonna say so it's the same knife. So she's waiting there again to kill Carrie with a knife.
Yeah.
And
The
Carrie
whole
comes
time
home.
Carrie's at the dance, she's like sitting in her rocking chair sharpening the knife.
Yeah,
Like,
dude, that was a creepy part
what a
too.
scary image. Like,
I can just imagine, dude. Yeah.
but
Creepy.
so Carrie comes in and she kind of just tells her that like she's a horrible person, right? And like that she hates her. And then the mom lunges at her with a knife. And actually, I was surprised. I thought Carrie was gonna be like, you know, like get out of here, like just throw her across the room with her mind. But the mom actually stabs her. Carrie doesn't deflect her completely. It stabs her in the shoulder, and it said it went all the way to the handle. Like it was a big butcher knife, went all the way through the. I'm guessing like 7, 8, 9 inches, something like a good sized knife. I think you're frozen.
Oh,
there you are.
can you see me? They were gonna pray to get. They were gonna pray together. Then out of the corner of her eye, she sees the knife.
That's right.
So she backs up. Then she only gets her in the shoulder because she was gonna hit her right in the back.
You're right. The mom's like, let's pray. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So, and then Carrie, I thought it was, so I was a little bit, I'll admit, a tiny bit disappointed in the way Carrie killed the kids at the school.
Oh, you were?
No,
the kids at the school?
Kids at the school.
Okay.
Because I was expecting her to use her mind to like actually cause like physical damage. Like instead of just like, she used her mind to cause a fire, I thought that was a little bit like, eh.
Right.
But I got my satisfaction. She pictures her mom. So she tells her mom, like, it's easier when you picture, what you're trying to do or whatever. So she's picturing her mom's heart beating.
Well, she tells her, she's like, I have a present for you.
Slower and slower. Yeah. Oh, she tells her she has a gift. Yeah, a present for her.
Yeah. And then, oh, dude, I thought that was so devious.
And she just makes her heart stop. It's crazy.
And the whole time, like her mom's saying the Lord's Prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then she's like, gets to the part, thy will be done. And Carrie's like, no, my will. I'm like, oh, dude.
Oh, that was awesome.
That
was awesome. No, my will. Boom. And then the mom dies.
Oh, dude, that was epic.
But she's seriously injured. Carrie is seriously injured. And I think, did she burn down her house? What happens to her house? It gets destroyed somehow, doesn't it? Oh, you know what? I think it was on the same street where all those power lines fell down. And like the fire, after she left the house, the fire reached the house and burned it down.
Oh, yeah. Well, when she leaves, she starts breaking things in the house. Like there's a bunch of statues and she's pulling them off the shelves and stuff. And
she wrecks the place.
And the fire.
Her mom's dead. She's pretty seriously injured at this point, though. She's got a big old knife in her shoulder. And then it said that like she had cut her foot. She stepped on a broken bottle, so she was bleeding quite a bit out of her foot. It actually said specifically that like most of the blood on her was no longer the pig's blood. It was mostly her own blood from all the stuff going on and stuff. So, I mean, she's she's starting to like slow down.
Oh, I thought that was mostly the pig's blood and not her own.
Maybe I read it wrong.
Maybe I read it wrong.
I don't know.
Well, it was somebody's blood.
Somebody's blood. And then so she starts going. Oh, so Chris and Billy, the kind of the bad guys, they have made their escape to this roadhouse down the way, down on the edge of town.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like a room upstairs where they like meet and do the devil's tango together. And I heard that phrase in a YouTube video not too long. I love it.
Oh yeah,
devil's tango. It's so funny.
Sex. That's what it was.
It's sexual intercourse. And so, and actually, I thought it was interesting how like the mom was always talking about roadhouses and how they were like dens of evil, because her parents owned a roadhouse and like a bar basically, and that's kind of what drove her to this religion. And so like her grandpa, Carrie's grandpa, her mom's dad, died in like a bar fight at the place where he was like the bartender, the bar owner guy and stuff. So like her mom was always talking about how roadhouses were evil. They're like, you know, pits of degradation and all this stuff.
Right.
So Billy and Chris are at this roadhouse. Billy's all turned on because they just committed this crime. And this was the other part of the book that I thought was pretty honestly problematic, where he decides to get pretty rough. I guess he likes it rough. And like he like grabs Chris. I think he slaps her right away. He tears her shirt off. And then she's like, "Back off, what are you doing?" And then he like slaps the crap out of her and he like throws her on the bed and she's like, get off of me. And then they do it. And like, and she's like kind of cool with it, but she kept telling him no. Like, right?
It was interesting. This book goes like to a lot of dark places that you're like, oh wow, I didn't realize it would go there, but it did.
It does, but I gotta say I'm pretty pleased with like how it's done. I don't feel like it's covering very adult material, but I didn't feel
it wasn't too graphic.
It wasn't too graphic. It wasn't vulgar. Yeah. There was honestly, I've been reading this novella by George R.R. Martin. It's part of the Game of Thrones series.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, in this like 80-page novella, I think I'm only like 30 pages in, and I think I've already found more swear words than in the whole book of Carrie. So like it's not like overly vulgar, overly explicit, but like it gets the point across.
Yeah.
It gets the point across. So Billy kind of rapes Chris, but like she sticks around and like they wake up together and like she's happy. I don't know, it's weird. That's why I didn't like it. And like it says that he has like scratches all over his back. Like she was into it, I guess. I don't know.
Wild. Yeah, it doesn't describe it, but like you just let your imagination wander, and you have to rein it back in.
We should move on. Our families are going to watch this.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But anyway, so then a friend of Billy's like bursts into the room at like 1 a.m, and he's like, "The school's burned down. The town is on fire." And Billy's like, "Shut up. Who cares?" Like Billy is so nonchalant about everything. Yeah. And the friend is like, "What are we gonna do?" And I think Billy punches him, doesn't he?
Yeah, like, punches him and tells him, "Get out of here!" Like,
yeah, Billy's answer to everything is just violence. Like, so he like punches his friend, and he's like, his friend who helped him get the pig's blood. He's like, "We didn't wear gloves. What if they find our prints on those buckets or whatever?"
Oh yeah.
Billy's like, "This just shows you what a scumbag Billy is." He's like, "I'll take care of it. You know, go get the other guys and go, you know, just chill. Lay low. I'll take care of it." And then he like slowly starts putting his clothes on, and Chris is like, "Are you gonna go back to the school or whatever to get the buckets?" And he's like, "No, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go watch the chaos, because that's what anybody would do, and then we're gonna leave and come back here." And she's like, "What about the buckets?" And he's like, "I wore gloves."
I wore gloves, so it doesn't matter. Like the other guy's fingerprints are on it. I'm clear.
And then he's like, "And if they get caught and they tell on me, I'm leaving." She's like, will you take me with you? And he's like, yeah. And then in his mind,
Maybe.
he's like,
He said maybe.
yeah, he's like, maybe. And then it's like, but he knew he wouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
he was already like bored with her. So,
Yeah. Terrible
so
person.
he's like already planning on how he's going to get away, and he doesn't care who gets, screwed over because of what he
Right.
did. So anyway, so Carrie, that's what I was going with this. Carrie goes from her house. She starts making her way toward the roadhouse, and it doesn't really explain it super clearly, but like she basically has like this drive. She kind of feels like she just knows what to do next, and she's gonna go destroy this roadhouse because it's like this place of sin, right?
Yeah, well, it was that, and I think that she knew that Billy was going to be there, right?
Did she know they were there?
She has mind powers.
Does she? I'm just kidding.
Like the ability to read people's minds.
Okay.
Like at the end, it talks about that.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think I have this problem towards the end of a book. When I start getting close, I just start like cruising through it because I want to get to the end. So I sometimes miss details. So I thought it didn't really explain why she was going to the roadhouse, but could she sense that like Billy and Chris were there?
Yeah, she just had this intuition that they were going to be there.
Okay.
So
she starts making her way there, and it's a little ways away. It's like 3 miles or whatever. So when she finally gets there, she's like all exhausted and kind of torn up, and like she's really on death's doorstep, really.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's still got a knife in her.
Billy and Chris are just leaving. Oh yeah, she tries to pull the knife out, but it's like way too painful, right?
Yeah.
So she just leaves it in.
Just walking around.
Whatever, this big knife sticking out of her.
I'll just add it to my collection of jewelry.
It's an accessory. It goes with the corsage.
That's right.
When so Billy and Chris are leaving the roadhouse right when Carrie shows up, and it's like another great confrontation. And I think Stephen King has a thing about cars. Did you get that vibe?
Kind of. Yeah, there's some parts. Yeah.
Because like the way he describes Billy's car, it's like very intimate. I thought like really like he goes out of his way to tell a lot about this car. And then I know he's got another book called Christine that's like about a car or something.
Oh, okay.
And then he's got one called From a Buick 8 that's also about a car. So like I think maybe he's kind of a car guy.
Yeah. All right.
So I don't know. Anyway, so Billy, being the psychopath he is, he tries to run over Carrie, and Carrie, being so awesome, like makes him turn. What does she make him go backwards, or did she just make him turn around, or what did she do?
She just makes the car kind of like swerve and then flip on its side.
It flips on its side? I thought it hit the wall.
Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe it hit the wall.
So like Chris and Billy are in the car, and I think Carrie makes it accelerate, like they can't hit the brakes or something, and like just destroys this wall, and like they both die, I think, from the impact. Like they hit the wall really hard, and then the car starts on fire, and they both die, and the whole roadhouse starts burning down. And Carrie's just like, she's kind of like, my job is done, and she collapses. And then who decides to show up?
Sue Snell.
I was gonna say
that girl.
Sue. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So Sue shows up. You what?
Sorry, I'm trying to make a joke. I'm not funny. No. Just ignore me.
I just couldn't hear you, dude. So Sue Snell shows up. During the whole thing, it's kind of like bouncing back to her perspective. Like, so she hears the sirens going off. She sees the whole town's on fire. She's like running towards the school because obviously her boyfriend Tommy's there. No, and all of her friends.
Yeah.
So she wants to make sure that everything's okay. She's running there. She's like asking a policeman, like, what's going on? Because she sees everything, like, the world burning down.
Well, Sue, I thought it was pretty interesting. Has sort of, she doesn't have telekinesis or anything like that, but she has sort of like an intuition, like a strong. She tells is it the sheriff or the fire chief? I think it's the sheriff. She tells him like it was Carrie, and I can't remember.
It's
Carrie, or did she just know that?
She just knew that, and it was because Carrie was communicating with So like in other
Yeah,
excerpts,
she felt like
other
Carrie's presence, right?
yeah, but other people felt that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. You're right.
they're like, I don't know how, like we knew that it was Carrie, but we just knew, you know.
Oh. And when Billy and Chris are in the car
Yeah.
driving, like their minds, they're trying to think, but like all they can think is like Carrie.
Yeah. She's
And
just stuck in their mind.
it's like really bold type, and it gets bigger and bigger, and it's like overpowering their thoughts, and then they crash and die. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, she's sort of
She's
like
getting in everybody's
projecting her
minds.
thoughts. What?
She's just getting into everybody's minds. Like she's destroying all the physical place, but she's destroying everybody mentally too.
Yeah,
Whoa.
the drunk guy knew it was her, and like
Yeah.
other people, they like could sense that it was her. Yeah.
And they'd never seen pictures of her. They didn't know who she was, but they knew, like at
they
that
knew her
point,
name.
like they
Yeah.
knew this is Carrie White.
And then so Sue tries to like follow her, or she's like following this intuition from Carrie, and she's like, she goes to Carrie's house, she finds it all in flames, and then she follows the trail of blood because Carrie's bleeding pretty badly. She follows the trail of blood all the way to the roadhouse. It's like 3 miles.
Well, no, she said the blood stops, and then she just knows to go to the roadhouse because Carrie is still communicating with her.
Okay, yeah. And then they meet right as Carrie's dying, and Sue kind of like, I thought when this was happening, I was like, this is a little bit scary, because like Carrie might blame Sue for this, because it was Sue's idea for Tommy to take her to the dance. Sue participated in throwing the tampons at her. So like, I was like, Sue, watch out, like she might get you. But
she thought that everybody was involved, even like Tommy.
Yeah.
Until Sue shows up at the roadhouse. She's just killed Chris and Billy, and
Carrie did,
as Carrie's dying, Sue's like goes over to her, and Carrie like gets into her mind and starts reading all of her thoughts, and she's like she's trying to find out like any part of like if Sue was involved in this or if Tommy was, and she can't find anything. Like she finds out that they're innocent.
I thought it was interesting how she saw that Sue thought she was weird, but like weird or strange or something like that. Or, what was the word? It was there was a word they used that she was like just pathetic or something like that, but she didn't have any malice toward her.
Right.
Like she thought she was weird, but like she didn't hate her, and so Carrie was like okay with that, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, I think that's two different like topics, you can be like, oh well, I don't get along with that person, or like I don't like him, but you're not like, oh, I want to be super mean to them. I feel like that's definitely two different categories.
I just thought it was a nice distinction of Carrie to recognize, because a lot of times
that's true.
In a lot of stories and in real life, it's like when people are upset, anybody who has anything against them becomes the enemy, and I was kind of like, when I saw that Carrie saw in Sue's mind that Sue thought she was weird, I was like, oh no, you better run, Sue. But then Carrie was like, but you have no malice towards me, so you're like okay, basically. I was like, oh wow, that's really like it made me like Carrie even more.
Right.
And then she pretty much just dies, and then that's it, right?
That's it. That's it for part 2.
Oh, one important thing, which did not click in my mind until a day or two later. While Sue is waiting out at her house during the dance, she's thinking about how her period is late. And like she's always been very regular, and she's like a week late. So she thinks Tommy and her are gonna have a baby, and it's after the reader, you already know Tommy's dead. So you're like, oh no, that's horrible. Because you already know.
I didn't think about that.
You already know Sue is going to survive and Tommy's already dead. And she's talking about how she's late. But then, do you remember the very last thing? Like, Carrie dies, and then Sue, like, kind of walks off. And then she's like, it said that she could feel something happening, but she didn't know what it was.
Oh,
And then she got her period. And, like, I thought it was, at the time, I was like, oh, she got her period. So, like, the book starts with a period, it ends with a period. And, like, that was all I thought about it. But then, like, 2 days later, I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, that means she's not pregnant. Like, she doesn't have to raise a baby on her own and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, like, it
Yeah.
kind of clicked.
I don't think I made that connection. Like, I understood that she got her period, and I was like, oh, that's weird that they just put that in there. Like, I was like, oh, well, they're starting with that and ending with that.
Yeah, that's what I thought at
interesting.
first.
But I didn't get that connection. That's true.
But, so that's part 2. And then part 3 is like, what, 5-10 pages long, something like that?
Yeah, super small. Just
Basically,
kind
just
of
like a
like
little epilogue.
yeah, just kind of telling how like the town's it's not surviving. Like, it's just kind of gonna die off
Like
because
a
all
huge
these
amount of
people are dead.
people are moving
Yeah.
away.
Nobody wants to rebuild or anything because it's just not gonna work, and there's so much pain there for everybody.
Yeah, and the final count was 432 people that died.
Yeah, in the whole town, and then there's, like you said, 60 something students
Yeah.
in the high school.
So it did talk about how like there were sections of the town that were completely untouched and they were fine, but like there were whole streets that were like totally destroyed. So it was really, I mean, it wasn't like the whole town, but the destruction was at the level that like the rest of the town kind of didn't want to even be there anymore.
Right.
And it was just like this sort of feeling of hopelessness and sorrow kind of pervaded the whole area, and like nobody wanted to bother like to try to thrive and overcome. Like they all just like the businesses that were destroyed. Like they interview one guy and he's like, I'm just gonna take the insurance money and move to Florida.
Leave. Yeah.
And like, you know, stuff like that. So the town is
There's not a lot of
basically
hope.
dead. It's gonna become a ghost town eventually, I guess. It's kind of the vibe I got.
Right.
Then the end. So throughout the book, there's this entity called the White Commission. This group of people like that are tasked with like investigating the whole event or whatever.
Yeah, and they're just trying to prove that like telekinesis is kind of a farce, right?
Yeah, and so like you start to learn that like the White Commission wants to like disprove all this stuff and say that like it's not really what these people say happened and stuff. And so the White Commission, their final verdict or whatever is that like, yes, this might have been telekinesis, but like it's almost impossible that it'll ever happen again. It's this genetic thing that happens only like doesn't happen 99.9% of the time or whatever. So like, you know, there's nothing to worry about. And then there's like articles from other people studying it, talking about how like, no, we should be testing for this gene. And like, if someone's discovered to have this gene, we need to like separate them from the population and like possibly even kill them before they reach puberty.
Well, they're like, that's the only option because like you can't put them in a prison because they're just gonna knock all the walls down.
Yeah, they can just knock down the walls.
And the public's not gonna want like us taking a little girl away from their family.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that was a distinction they made, that the telekinesis only becomes like active after puberty or at puberty.
Oh, that's
so like, right. So they want to like start testing for it when kids are young, and like if they find it, this guy's like, honestly, it's not something we want to do, but kind of the only option is killing them. Like, So then anyway, but then the White Commission is like, no, we're not going to do that because it's like it's not going to happen again. Everybody's safe. There's nothing to worry about. Keep it hush hush. But then, like the last page of the book is a letter from some lady that like doesn't have anything to do with the story. She's like in Georgia or Alabama or something, mm-hmm. and she's writing a letter to her sister, telling her about how her daughter has these powers that their grandma used to have, and like, I just thought it was cool. Like, oh yeah, the other day she was making some rocks float in the air or something. I can't remember what she said.
Yeah. Just at the end of the story, dun dun dun.
Yeah, and it was just like
to be continued.
Boom, and like that's the end. So I'm really curious to know if that's gonna come up in another story sometime, or if that's just like a cliffhanger ending and it's not gonna be touched again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed the book.
But yeah, it was good. It was good, dude. Like the first part was super good. But I think that there was a lot of character building and stuff, just kind of introducing the characters.
It was a little slow. Yeah, there was a lot of like exposition.
I wouldn't even say, like, for me, it wasn't super slow. It was just the second part was so much more than the first part that it seemed, I guess it seemed slower.
Slow in comparison.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. I know I've already said this, but like I was a little bit anxious going into this because I was like, I don't like to read things that are super vulgar or like overly gruesome or whatever. But
Hmm.
like I said, I felt like this was done pretty tastefully, a little bit more than I'd like. Like there was a decent amount of like swear words and there was some explicitness, but like nothing like too crazy. But it was there.
Yeah.
Normally, I read a little bit more mild stuff, but overall, I think like it wasn't anything too horrible. I liked it. I'm
Yeah.
excited for the next one.
It was a good book too. Did you have any snippets or anything that you want to talk about? There's just a
No,
couple
I
things
think I
that.
pretty much said everything I wanted to say.
Okay, there was just a couple of things I just wrote down. I just thought it was interesting. So we talked about it just a little bit, but I just thought it was interesting how like so Billy's the bad guy, but when it goes into his past, it just kind of talks about how like he came from a broken family,
Yeah.
and like he'd cry in the back of his car sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
that's how he has that connection with his car. and and I really like that as a reader. I like how the author kind of described it as like he could have just been like, oh, this was a terrible guy, like through and through. But like that's never the case with anybody. Like even the worst people in the world have like some sort of things that make them happy and stuff. So I just
They
appreciate.
have good qualities.
Yeah.
I once in college I was in a Jewish studies class, Jewish American poetry.
Okay.
I am not joking. Some people might not believe this, but I legitimately kind of forgot where I was. We were just having a discussion about
Uh-huh.
people and stuff, and I made that point. I was like, "Hey, nobody's 100% good. Nobody's 100% bad. Even Hitler had his good qualities." And then like I look,
Oops.
the professor, the look on the professor's face was priceless. It was like, and then
Yeah, dude,
like
that's the wrong place to say that.
everybody else in the room was like, dude. And I was like, oh, I just mean like he was a great animal lover, like
Yeah.
he passed a lot of laws against like animal abuse and things like that, and he was a vegetarian, I think. And he helped Germany. He saved them from the huge depression and everything. So I mean, it sounds horrible, but like he wasn't 100% evil. And
Yeah.
but
Well,
I
and
like
that's
the
what I'm
point
saying.
that you're
Like,
making.
yeah, I don't think anybody's 100% evil, even if they're like super evil, like Hitler. Like
Yeah.
there's vulnerabilities that they have, and it just explains that to Billy. Like he did have these vulnerabilities. He is a super terrible, evil person, but like it just showed into him a little bit more.
Yeah, you're right, and that is a really good thing to mention. That like the all of the main characters are three-dimensional. They're not just good or bad, or like they're not just like plain people. Even the mom, like it explained that she went towards this fanatical religious, ideas because her parents were like sinful and like her dad got killed and all this sort of stuff. So like she wanted to like shun that, and that's kind of what got her into it. And so like really none of the characters are all one thing or all one or all another. Carrie is a
Yeah,
perfect example. Carrie is like the victim, but then she kills all these people, but like she's just trying to defend herself, but also she goes a little too far, and like it's all mixed up. So it's really good. It's really good character work, honestly.
yeah, yeah. I would have to agree.
Yeah, that's a good point about Billy. Like he did have stuff that sort of drove him in that direction.
Right. Yeah. So
What
I
else?
just
Anything else?
enjoyed that. Just the last thing. Did you ever think about like our high school when the high school was burning down?
Oh, actually, no. Surprisingly,
Because our high school burned down. When we were in high school, it burned down, and
sophomore
the
year.
sprinkler system didn't
Well, it's
work and there
because
was
you
electrical issues.
you dumped that blood on that girl at prom.
Oh,
I
that's
remember.
yeah. Forgot about that part.
Um, no, yeah, it was a ceiling fan that like overheated or something. The wiring or something like that, right?
Yeah, some electrical things in the ceiling, and it burnt everything because the sprinklers didn't work, or there wasn't sprinklers installed over there.
It was an old. It was like the school was like 70 years old. It was really old. Yeah, I as a teacher, I teach high school, you know, so I've told my students about that. I always show them on YouTube. There's like YouTube videos of it. And yeah, it was crazy. Like 70% of the school got burned.
Yeah, crazy, dude.
And to any kids who are watching, you think that's like your dream, right? Oh, I wish the school would burn down. It is not your dream. It sucked.
Yeah.
We went to school.
The first 2 weeks were pretty cool, but then
yeah.
But then when we had to go,
when the novelty of it wore off, it was not very fun. We had to go to class in portable classrooms for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And that wasn't fun.
Yeah. And the year after we graduate, the kids under us got a brand new, huge high school.
That's when the new school was done. The year after we graduated.
The year after.
Took them like 3 years to build it.
Yeah.
But yeah, our school burned down. That's true. That was crazy.
Pretty crazy, but yeah, that's all I have, dude.
So I forgot to say at the beginning of this video, if you haven't seen part 1, you should go watch part 1 before you watch part 2.
That's true. So now that you've already watched all of part 2, then
yeah,
prequel to part 1.
So Carrie's awesome. I'm gonna try to watch the movie this week, and we can kind of talk about it a little bit next week. But also this week we're starting Salem's Lot, right?
Salem's Lot, yeah.
I have no idea what it's about, but I think Salem is short for Jerusalem, right?
Oh, okay.
And that's all I know.
Is that where it's based?
I don't know.
Oh. Okay, that's all you know. That's right. You just
don't know anything about it. So yeah, we'll do that. I feel like we need some closure here. Like, how should we end this?
See ya.